Views and opinions expressed on this show are solely those of the host and guests and do not express the views or opinions of any of their employers or affiliates.
Hi, I'm RiTika Rose. Welcome to Awaken Your Truth, where I bring conscious dialogues and stories that will help you free your mind, heal your life, and embody your power. I hope to shift your perspective and create deeper understanding of yourself and others. Everyone has a story, everyone has a purpose, every experience has a reason. This show is about engaging with the truth of who you are, discovering your personal power and stepping into your authentic self so you can have more compassion and empathy for yourself and everyone around you. It's time for us to dig deep and learn to see ourselves and others with clarity so that we can come together and create a brighter future for humanity. When we free our minds, we can heal our lives, and this is how we build a powerful, transformed world. Awaken Your Truth starts now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Awaken Your Truth with me, RiTika Rose, where I bring conscious dialogues that free your mind, heal your life, and embody your power. As always, my show hopes to bring a different perspective that can shift the minds of those listeners so we can create more love, acceptance, joy, and happiness in this world, bringing all people together so we can create a life of unity and abundance together. It's been a few episodes, if for those that have followed me on Transformation Talk Radio, on our podcast channels on Facebook and YouTube, that have actually been live and had a show. And that's why today's episode, How COVID Healed Me, a return to self through isolation, I feel is such an important show to sort of restart and come back on. I had a few episodes of wonderful other shows that were broadcast with me and Dr. Pat, and some of our other shows that were important and popular. So I hope that you enjoyed those shows over the last three sessions that were missed. But I needed to come back now with an episode that sort of explained why I had taken a bit of a break, and it was just and I thought it was just going to be such an important topic about my COVID a diagnosis in early June, my process through then and up until now, and why I actually did take a break, and the importance of how my isolation through COVID helped me return to myself, and in integrity to myself. And through this episode today, I'm going to talk and bring up some points from the start of COVID from 2020 until now through 2022, and some of the energy and some of the feelings and emotions that have come up over the last few years, and how it's affected all of us until we finally do get COVID, for those of us that have had COVID and those that may not have, but how COVID affects us, and how actually, COVID can actually heal your mind and free your mind and heal your life and embody your power through your isolation process. So I do want to say that my June episodes, the two that were recorded, I actually was during an active COVID period for me. My first June episode with Nick, and June highlighted LGBTQIA Awareness Month, and I had two of my mental health professional colleagues come on and share their knowledge on the topic with us. But both of those shows were recorded during my COVID time, and after that, I hit a really hard fatigue, just through the recovery process, through my other work process, and through some very personal family matters that I was dealing with that sort of forced me to take a break. And part of the return to myself was the integrity to myself and really listening to my body and my mind and what I needed to do. So at the end of the show, we're going to go through some of that and, our value system again. But let's sort of start off with, 2020, when COVID all started, right? 2020 was supposed to be the year of vision for those of us really who follow spirituality very deeply, right? We were so excited for 2020. And it was really advertised as the year of vision, 2020 vision, clarity for all of us. 2020 also symbolizing keeping the faith, that God is with you, numerologically keeping the faith that God is with you. So really all of our dreams and our hopes and our manifestations, we were hoping to build upon the visions that we had for ourselves and for our lives. And all of a sudden at the top of 2020 enters this pandemic. And for a lot of us, all of our hopes and dreams and visions that we had, or that we were aiming towards, or that we were working very deeply towards, all of a sudden came to a halt, all of a sudden changed. And life changed for everybody altogether worldwide. We as a world were coming together to fight a pandemic and to understand an illness and an infection that was taking so many lives from us, and was detrimental to our health and to our survival. So let's take a look at that. And I'm sure many of you listening today can agree with 2020, life as you knew it just changed. I don't think there's one person listening right now that can say that that wasn't the case for them, right? Life changed, plans changed. So let's talk about that, right? All of our travel plans changed. I know for myself, 2 major international trips that I had planned for 2020 changed. My personal work and how I conducted my work changed. I worked out of an office. For many entrepreneurs or small businesses, those that have offices, I worked out of an office. Much of my work was hands-on work with my Reiki healing and the body assessments that I do. And that was a main factor for people to come in and visit me. That was a main part of my business that all of a sudden came to a halt. I couldn't have people in my office anymore. I couldn't see people in person. I couldn't touch people's bodies to heal them or to do the assessments that I did to help people understand, the energies that I felt within their system that was affecting them, their lives emotionally, behaviorally, etc. All of that came to a halt. All of that shifted for me. And I'm sure for many of you, that shifted as well. And even for people that work for other companies that had to go into the office, all of that changed, right? People were frantic, frazzled, trying to figure out how do they keep their businesses alive? How do they shift now during this time of not being able to come into the office, not being able to see people in person, not being able to conduct work the way that we normally did? How do we get all of that done? And miraculously or not, everything sort of quickly, I feel, put a like or a comment or what have you if you can for whatever channel you're listening to. I think pretty quickly people were able to make those shifts and changes, whether on a corporate level, a personal level, or what have you. For a lot of people, unfortunately there were many people that were not able to sustain their business, and they did have to give it up during that time. And I do hope and I do pray that those businesses that were not able to survive during that time are able to revive themselves now. We're able over the last couple of years to find a way to come back. But work changed for so many people, travel changed for so many people, school, how our children went to school, how the children went to school changed, how teachers taught changed, excuse me. Children staying at home, how parenting was affected, how home life was affected because of COVID, right? Which brings me to my next point of life, right? Life and relationships. How did our life and relationships change during the time of COVID? So many families now, we're starting to see their family life and their relationships with their spouses or their partners or any of their loved ones that they live with in a different way. Some connected more, the connection was starting to get lost. People were really starting to look at the relationships on a deeper level. What was working for them, what was not working for them, right? All of a sudden we had to create bubbles in our friendships, in our families, right? We weren't able to connect with people the way that we used to. Little pods of friends were being formed, and those were the people that we were hanging out with, and everybody else unfortunately Or as we dive deeper into this conversation, fortunately, we were not able to see and hang out with, right? So let's take a look at all of these topics and so much more, right? So much more happened in 2020 that was coming up for people. But how did this affect everyone's emotional and mental state, right? I have said from the beginning, those that had mental challenges to begin with prior to COVID and prior to 2020 exacerbated those mental challenges. So those with anxiety, depression, or any other mental health challenges exacerbated those medical conditions and those mental health conditions. Those that never really did experience anxiety or depression most definitely did experience anxiety and depression during 2020. Um, and even I believe into 2021 and now even maybe still, right? But most definitely in 2020, almost every single person experienced an emotional and mental health challenge on a stress level that produced anxiety or depression in some sort, right? And how did that anxiety and depression really start to affect us, right? We really had to start finding ways to cope with our stress in a different way. We found ways to manage our home lives and our work lives in a different way. Everyone was at home. The level of extra work that was put onto everybody in trying to manage a home life and work life together at the same time in one space, right? Really amped up the stress and the anxiety in many people. And then when we talk about, and anxiety too, right? Like people really had to learn to multitask and to handle many challenging situations at the same time in one space. We really, those that live with many people or their families or um, didn't really have space to figure things out on their own as maybe they did life prior to COVID, right? And then let's talk about anxiety and depression for those who were really isolated from other people, those that maybe live alone or don't have partners or don't have spouses or don't have families, right? Whether basically just the people that live alone. Whether it's chosen or whether they've lost a spouse in the past or they're single um for matters that they've chosen or what have you, right? The depression and anxiety that's set in for those people, right? Losing connection with people altogether. um uh not having anyone to connect with, not having anyone surrounding them in their space, feeling very lonely, right? Uh that the loneliness and isolation that came up for people and how that had really affected them, right? And also depression sinking in for actually really everybody else, right? Because life as we know it, so when remember depression is thinking about the past, so life as we knew it had stopped, right? The way that we used to live our lives, and all the activities that were important to us and all of the hobbies that we had and all the things that kept our life exciting and happy and joyful no longer existed in a way that we usually experienced them, right? So depression sinked in for a lot of people in that way. And then of course anxiety, the fear of the future and what the future holds. COVID in it. So not only are we talking about the stress and being able to manage all the juggling parts that were coming to us, but the fear of the unknown with COVID during 2020, right? No one really knew what this virus was. And was there ever going to be a cure? And every day, every week, every month, there was a new some new information, some new policy to uphold. Another thing to incorporate into our lives, adding on to everything else that we were trying to figure out and handle, right? So 2020, that was a year of anxiety and depression, right? And the vision of our life as we knew it came to a halt, right? So quickly, we're going to go to commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how 2020 and all the anxiety and depression and the emotional challenges that we started to face then trickled into 2021 and how maybe actually the vision that we thought we were supposed to have in 2020, how 2020 actually maybe gave us a different vision that was manifested for ourselves toward the end of 2020 and moving into 2021, and what that started to look like for people. So thank you for listening to this first segment, and we'll be right back. Tag Your It takes you on a journey of 8 life mastery skills that will help you step into your power and become the leader of your own life. Inspiring, real, insightful, and therapeutic, the pages help you discover deeper awareness, understanding, and relationship with yourself and others. Give yourself permission to live life through your authentic self. These steps can be used in your personal, professional, and social life. Order your copy now on Amazon. Are you feeling lost in this journey we call life? When you awaken the truth of your patterns, limitations, and beliefs, you can start to heal relationship with yourself, others, and your circumstances. I'm RiTika Rose, life coach, author, and speaker. My mission is to help you align with your most powerful, authentic self and transform how you experience your inner and outer world. Find the confidence and peace to live the highest version of your life. Visit RiTikaRose.com. Welcome back to Awaken Your Truth with me, RiTika Rose, as we're talking today about how COVID healed me, a return to self through isolation. So we just talked about the year of 2020 and how it brought on different mental health challenges and different levels of stress for almost every person experiencing a COVID worldwide in 2020, right? And all the surmounting information and challenges we had to face and get through, either alone or within your pods or with your particular people, right? And what I feel happened towards the end of 2020 with all of that coming up, people were sort of now settling into this new life, right? This new way of being, a new way of work, a new way of socializing, the people that they were choosing to socialize with, the people they were surrounding themselves with, and right? And I think, and as we were moving into 2021, the 2020 vision actually opened itself up to what is really important to us. I think the vision that came about through this horrifying pandemic in 2020 was the ability to give us a clearer picture of what is really important to us, right? So through all the time that we spent at home with our family and loved ones, our children and our spouses, right? What did we learn about each other? What do we learn that was important to us about our family and home lives, right? For many, the family relationships got stronger. Family relationships were healed. The bonds got more connected, right? People started connecting more with their loved ones and their family members, whether at home in their own personal space or bringing in family from above, because people were checking in on people more, making sure everyone was okay, really sort of now understanding the importance and the value of family. And then for other families, they realized this situation is actually not working out for them, right? They realized that all along, they maybe didn't have the connection that they thought that they did have all the years that they were together. So many people were starting to separate as well during that time because they realized what was important to them may not be what's important to their partner or their spouses or some of their other loved ones, right? Same thing with our friend circle. We started to realize who and what is really important to us when it comes to our personal settings, right? And our friend circle, right? Like pods were created, right? So we were starting to connect more with those pods, right? And maybe we're realizing that those are the people that we really value the most and we want in our inner circle. And those are the people we're choosing to spend time with. You know, it was chosen who was going to be our pods and who were the people of value and of interest to us during that time. And maybe those relationships grew. And because of that, some other people, some of the friendships may have strained themselves because of the time that they weren't able to spend, or maybe that was also purposely done. Maybe the value of the friendship was realized that maybe these are not people that we really value or choose to have in our lives as much as we did before, because we were realizing more and more what was important to us, right? Stepping more and more into ourselves and what energy do we feel is right for us to have in our life, and maybe what energy is not right for us to have in our life. So the friendship circles and relationships changed as well, and also professionally, right? Now that so many people were working from home, right? Or for entrepreneurs and business owners, and their business had to change in so many ways, they realized what was important to them within that aspect, right? Many people now have enjoyed working from home because they actually feel more freedom and flexibility, and they feel more productive and efficient working from home than spending time in a car and driving to an office. Um, you know, being maybe being distracted by all the energy and the people that are actually in the corporate workspace, where they maybe can't get their work done as effectively as they can from home, in their private dens or what have you, or choosing their hours to be flexible and get the work done at home as so long as they can, right? And then there are other people that just were not able to work from home and just felt like I'm so glad to get back to the office, right? Like, but whichever way it was for you, you realized what was important to you, right? With your time and flexibility and how you work. I think it really did give a clear picture for many people. And for business owners, right? For those that have to shift and figure out ways to keep their businesses alive or to reinvent themselves. I think that was also really important, right? It pushed entrepreneurs and it pushed small businesses to take a look at the work that they're doing and how can they make a difference to survive, right? Like for me, for example, now my Reiki services and my my on-body healing had to shift, and primarily that work was because I can actually feel the energy of the body, and people would come to me for their energy assessments, right? To understand the energies I was feeling in their body that was affecting their personal lives, um and what patterns were created in their life. Now I could not do that anymore. And also, the new property management of my office increased the rent by 25%, which was completely out of integrity to me. So twofold, it, it was out of integrity for me uh to pay a higher fee into an office where I had nobody coming in to see me, and these were all small businesses in this complex. And during a time of COVID and crisis, property management was increasing rent prices. I felt was out of integrity to me. And also, um I was actually able to pivot how I did my assessments and create um as a verbal online assessment that I have now consistently been doing with my clients, that works just as effectively as me doing the work on their bodies. And you know that also came through a deep time of meditation, prayer, and reflection, right? I was literally told in meditation, do it this way, create it this way, and I followed the guidance that I was giving, and I created it, and lo and behold, it has worked perfectly, if not maybe even better, right? And um during 2021, with that new offer and my new course and program offer, actually my business doubled itself in 2021. And I think also so many people were seeking out mentorship and coaching during that time because of the emotional challenges that they were feeling. For those of us that work in mental health and coaching and psychology practices, we were able to support many more people during that time, and still do. But I mean, just to share that example, I was able to shift how I did my work and able to create the assessments and the courses that I now do online, and can do them from home. And it worked out beautifully, right? So again, that became clearer. Um, for many people too, how they do business, right? So things were just really starting to actually, the vision that we all had anticipated for 2020. We thought it was going to be a vision in one way, but actually the vision became clear in a different way. So I always like to think of, even in times of despair, right? How are things working in our favor, right? So that being said, even though we were going through, and we still are going through some difficult times, but COVID actually gave us the time to look at our lives more clearly, to understand what was important to us, and to really sit back and reflect on our values and start to incorporate them back into our lives, right? And in the next segment, we're going to come back and talk about how isolation helps you return to yourself. So whether it was COVID isolation, which is a personal story for me, how my personal COVID diagnosis and time alone helped me return to myself, not only in COVID isolation, but isolation in general, right? And how isolation in general can support you in returning to yourself. So I just want to share that perspective when we come back from this commercial break. Thank you for listening so far, and we'll be right back. Are you feeling lost in this journey we call life? When you awaken the truth of your patterns, limitations, and beliefs, you can start to heal relationship with yourself, others, and your circumstances. I'm RiTika Rose, life coach, author, and speaker. My mission is to help you align with your most powerful, authentic self and transform how you experience your inner and outer world. Find the confidence and peace to live the highest version of your life. Visit RiTikaRose.com. Tagged Your It takes you on a journey of 8 life mastery skills that will help you step into your power and become the leader of your own life. Inspiring, real, insightful, and therapeutic, the pages help you discover deeper awareness, understanding, and relationship with yourself and others. Give yourself permission to live life through your authentic self. These steps can be used in your personal, professional, and social life. Order your copy now on Amazon. Welcome back to Awaken Your Truth with me, RiTika Rose, where I bring conscious dialogues that free your mind, heal your life, and embody your power. Today, I'm coming back after a 3-show hiatus, talking about how COVID healed me, a return to self through isolation. So in the last couple of segments, we've talked about how 2020, the top of the pandemic, started to affect us emotionally, and how that moved into 2021, where our vision for our life and the things that were important in our life, and how our life actually did start to become more clear through all the challenges that we were facing, and starting to recognize what was important to us. And now coming into 2022, coming into sort of the end of the 3rd year of COVID, but really, what place are we all sitting in now, right? After the last couple of years. Now, many of you listening to this show have already had COVID over the last couple of years, and miraculously or not, I mean, and so I do have my private coaching practice, but I also still am a medical practitioner. So I do actively work in the hospital setting, in the nursing home setting. I was seeing patients at home, and working with the senior living, with the senior population as well, in their senior living centers. So I actively still work with patients who, who do have COVID, and COVID is we have active cases in our communities and facilities at all times. And over the last 2.5 years, I did not get COVID. And then this June, somehow I got it. I did nothing else different. All of my practices that I have had in place since the top of 2020, I still practice till this day. There was no one around me that had it at the time. None of my patients, none of my coworkers, the community I work in, none of my private clients, none of my friends, no one in my family, nobody. Somehow it was my turn to get it. And I had it. And I was on 10-day isolation. And during that time, I will say, these last 2.5 years, just like everybody else, we, as much as we can appear like, and I talk about this in my book, Tagged Your It, Become the Leader of Your Own Life, in the beginning of my book, how, how the outside world, how our outside worlds to people can look like everything is great and we have it all together, and happy and fine and joyful, but inside you really don't feel that way. Well, there was a lot of situations and challenges that I had to also deal with myself. Every human being was, as we've talked about through the show already. Everyone has gone through something during the time of COVID, right? Many, many changes have taken place with work, with friendships, with death, with health, with life in general, right? And how we've lived life in general. So all of us have dealt with things, and there are many situations in my life that hit me hard over the last 2.5 years. And I know, and I recognize, because I'm highly aware of myself, and I do a lot of self-reflection and self-realization work daily on myself, that, the conversations I was starting to have with, my friends and my loved ones, weren't as happy and joyful anymore. I was really sort of in a funk. Because it was just a buildup of everything over the last 2.5 years that were just getting to me. And maybe I was not doing the best job of handling it myself. But the beauty of being able to say that out loud and be vulnerable, right? Regardless of me being a life coach or a mental health practitioner, is that I'm also a human. And so are all of your practitioners. We're all human and we all go through different things, but we also do deep, heavy, self-awareness work. So that's what keeps us equipped to continue to support our patients and our clients as well, right? Because we're aware of what we're going through, and we know when it's time to start doing some work on ourselves, so we can heal ourselves, so we can continue to be our best selves for you, right? And like I've always said, why does everything happen for you, right? And everything happens for a reason. I say that in almost every show that I've had, right? And even in my book, we talk about this deeply in there, and even in my coaching practice with my clients. So why did this happen for me at this moment in June? And why was it my timing now? Because I really do believe the universe knew that I was coming to a place that wasn't emotionally healthy for me. And I just needed a break. There was a lot that I was dealing with work, with my emotions, with my friend circles, with my family life, with etc. And it was time. And for those of us that are, ambitious and, the go-getters, and we can handle a lot, and we're multitaskers, especially for people like us, right? We do need to recognize when it's time to take a break. And I think this was the universe saying, hey, RiTika Rose, it's your time. It's your time just to lie down now for 10 days, be by yourself, heal your mind, heal your body, clear your mind, clear your body, and come back to yourself. And at the end of the 10 days, this quote came to me, which is what I shared, with my private circles. And this is the quote. That really, because I really do feel like it embodies all of my healing that took place during those 10 days, right? In stillness lives wisdom. In quiet, you'll find peace. In solitude, you'll remember yourself, right? So let's talk about the stillness for a moment, right? In isolation, when you're by yourself, there's no one around you, no one to talk to, right? Unless you pick up the phone and talk to someone, or you turn on the TV or radio or what have you, right? But in stillness, in isolation, really, you're on your own, right? There's no one around you, no other energy. It's just you. So in that stillness, even though things can be happening around you, right? The stillness allows you to be in present moment, right? And not be distracted by all the outside things and all the outside things that are sort of happening around you that you may need to pay attention to in your workspace, in your family space, or what have you, when other human energies are around you, that you would have to be managing and handling, right? You're just by yourself. So in that stillness, it allows you to just be present, right? And sort of focus on this present still moment, right? Let your body just relax, be still, not be busy, and just rest and get the healing that it needs, right? And then in quiet, you'll find peace. So during time of isolation, the quietness, when there's nothing else to hear around you except for your own thoughts or the whispers from God or your angels or from the universe above, right? Those whispers, those downloads, those intuitive hits that you can center back and focus on when you're just in quiet, right? That's why meditation practice is so important, right? And just finding alone time in general is so important, right? And this is what the isolation process brought back to me, right? I was not allowing myself that. I was Miss Busy Bee, go body. Even though I teach and mentor and coach people to find time for themselves, I was not incorporating that myself over the last year. And I recognized that, and I was not allowing myself to have it. And so the universe forced it upon me. And I'm so glad that it did, because in solitude, I remembered and returned to myself. So that stillness of just finding rest, in that quiet of just finding peace, and listening to the wisdom that was coming through me from source, from my higher self, from my guides, I was able to come back to my truth. I was able to awaken my truth again and remember who I really am. And I stepped back into my value system, right? I was able to reflect on my personal values again, right? Integrity to self, mutual respect, spirituality, and one-on-one connection. And I was able to take these 4 values and look at them in my personal space, friendship and family, and my professional space. What was important to me? Was I operating under my value system? Was I allowing myself to have peace on a daily basis through my value system? Right? And what was I operating? Was I operating my value system in my physical space, in my emotional space, and in my spiritual space? Was I keeping integrity to myself? Was I respecting myself and others? And was I allowing respect from others back in? Right? Was I practicing my spirituality in a way that is aligned with me? My one-on-one connections with people, were they with the right people? Which brings me back to, and which allowed me to heal all the challenges that I had faced from the top of 2020. I had 3 very emotional experiences with 3 separate groups of friends that really emotionally triggered me in 2020. In the beginning of 2020, in the summer of 2020, and in the fall of 2020. And all of those have been sitting with me all this time, right? Some able to heal through the responsibility of having conversation, and having that mutual respect to actively listen to each other and hear each other, and share the importance of friendship. With others, not yet, but really understanding, putting that my value system around that, right? Letting go of what I can't control, letting go of the emotions I was feeling around all of that, and allowing myself to heal and tell myself when it's the right time, just like in universe, divine timing, all of that will be healed if it needs to be healed. Or maybe it's time to move on. Maybe that was a sign to move on, right? Because everyone was realizing what was important to them during this time frame. We all get to realize that. What's important to me, what's important to you, and are you and I aligning with and following our own value system, right? Professional space, right? Able to heal the time I do things and how much I take on, right? Allowing myself the freedom to say no, the freedom to take my time to get things done, to have conversations, to explain to my colleagues and my peers where I am and what I need in order to heal, and for me to be the most effective person I can be in my professional spaces. Because again, if I'm not my best self, I can't bring my best self to the work that I'm doing, right? And also now coming to a place of healing and knowing how much I can take on, right? And putting my own boundaries back in place, right? Boundaries is huge when it comes to our values, right? Personal life, friends and family, and work, right? So really taking a look at all of that. And family life, really understanding the values around my family, what's important to me with my family life, my connections with my family, the respect that we have for each other, the respect and the compassion and the love that I choose to give to them. For example, I was just out of isolation. I was still feeling the effects of COVID after my isolation ended, going back into work full force. And we had a health issue come up in the family, out of town. And I had to make a choice whether I'm still suffering from COVID fatigue and different symptoms I'm having from COVID, from post-COVID. Do I take that flight to say my final goodbyes to a very special family member in my life? I made the choice to say yes because that was in my value system, right? So I put in place that my family and my values and my relationship to this particular family member was important and was in my value system, and I was going to allow myself to do that, but then also set aside some other things that were maybe not as important to me during this particular time, right? So by me sharing all of this and my personal story, I hope that's helping you to realize too how, if you happen to be one of the folks that gets COVID now that is not in having very bad symptoms, and you do take the time to have some alone time and isolation time, and whether it's not COVID or not, for me, it was COVID isolation. For others, I implore you to take time to be in solitude, to find time to yourself so you really can return to yourself. I feel like COVID for me was a blessing to give me some time to just be on my own, to come back and return to myself, to realign with and refresh my values and remember what they are and start operating from them again and start to heal everything that I was holding on to over the last 2.5 years, and finally come back to a place of my own truth and acceptance around myself and acceptance around all people and all timing. And when situations are to take place or to not take place, and just be in gratitude for everything that is right now in this present moment, and being able to love myself once again, knowing that I am definitely on purpose. Everything that I'm doing and sharing for this world, that I am on the right path. I do belong. I am loved by myself and by those that are important and surround themselves and continue to stay there with me. And I am valued in my workspace, regardless of how I'm showing up and where I'm showing up, so long as that I'm communicating my needs to others, and so that we can work together as a team to understand each other, and so we can all be our best selves. So I hope that this episode was supportive in understanding how, even in terrible times, we can always find a path to truth and peace and returning to ourselves. There's always an answer for us in these situations, that's going to help us learn and grow and continue to become our best selves and to continue to live our best lives. There's always an answer there. So I hope this conversation was supportive and helpful. Please find time to be with yourself, to listen to yourself, to return to yourself, and to find and awaken back into your truth. If you're having difficulty with any challenges that you feel that you're still facing throughout this time of COVID or in general, please do contact me at RiTikaRose.com, info@RiTikaRose.com. Please take a look at the commercial segments for my book, Tagged You're It, Become the Leader of Your Own Life, which you can purchase on Amazon, and also my special book program called Aim Higher, where we focus on advanced inner mastery, a 12-week program that really helps you step into living and leading your best life, finding your emotional freedom, healing yourself, and embodying your full potential and power. Thank you so much for listening. Welcome back. Have a beautiful rest of the week and weekend. Until next time. Gratitude, peace, and blessings, RiTika Rose. Thank you for listening to Awaken Your Truth with me, RiTika Rose. I hope that you heard something today that sparked a shift in your perspective to free your mind, heal your life, and embody your power. The world needs love, acceptance, togetherness, and belonging. My hope is to be a contributing force towards the new world we need to create together. If each of us can awaken our truth and live with more empathy and authenticity, that shift will radiate. Spread the word and tune in next time for more conscious dialogues of healing and transformation on Transformation Talk Radio and Awaken Your Truth with RiTika Rose on YouTube and across all podcast stations. For more information about how to work with me, please visit RiTikaRose.com.